Question 120, visual pathway and auditory pathway, also called acoustic pathway. This is a schematic of the visual pathway. And the visual pathway begins in retina. Here you can see a schematic of the neurons that lie in this inner layer of the eye. First you have rods and cones, which are the first neuron of this path. The axons of rods and cones synapse with bipolar cells, which are second neurons, and they synapse with multipolar nerve cells, which are third neurons. And the layer of multipolar cells represent ganglion of optic nerve, and the axons of these multipolar cells form the optic nerve. These are the axons, and they form the optic nerve which exit the eye. They are partly crossed in the chiasm, which is this part. So you see the nasal half is what crosses. And they terminate mainly in the lateral geniculate body. Gray matter, the lateral geniculate body is the lower center of vision, or subcortical center of vision. And final part of visual pathway is the optic radiation, which terminates in occipital lobe around the calcarine sulcus, which is the higher center of vision, visual cortical area. You can see here is the medial surface. Here is calcarine sulcus. Next we have the auditory pathway, and it begins in the cochlea of the inner ear. Sensory cells, or hair cells, are surrounded by terminal branches of spiron ganglion nerve. And this is the first neuron. The axons of spiral ganglion nerve cells are grouped to form cochlear or acoustic nerve. See, here is cochlear branch, vestibular branch, so this is the hearing. And this terminates in the ventral and dorsal cochlear nuclei, which you can see here. We're in the medulla. So dorsal and ventral cochlear nuclei. And now the dorsal cochlear nucleus cells send axons crossing opposite side and ascending in lateral lemniscus. They traverse the inferior colliculus of the midbrain, and they run through the brachium of inferior colliculus into the gray matter of medial geniculate body. This is lower acoustic center, or subcortical acoustic center. So lateral is for vision and medial is for hearing, or auditory pathway. Now the nerve fibers arising in ventral cochlear nucleus ascend up and synapse in the trapezoid nucleus in pons. Then they continue in the lateral lemniscus. The axons of medial geniculate body runs to the cortex to form acoustic, this medial geniculate body, and those fibers run to form acoustic radiation, and they terminate in the superior temporal gyrus, which is the higher auditory center or cortical auditory center. So here you have a lateral view of the brain, and here you see the yellow, gyrus temporalis superior, which is acoustic center.